Howdy folks, and welcome back once again to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. Before we get started, I'm sure many of you are aware of the latest PR shitstorm currently brewing over in World of Warships regarding the locking of the re-release of the much-awaited USS Missouri behind a gambling loot box paywall. Don't worry, I have plenty to say on that, but a World of Tanks video is not the time or the place. Keep your ears peeled, I will be saying more on that particular subject at a later time. If you can't wait though, the TLDR version of that forthcoming video can be summed up thus: Wargaming, this shit is really starting to get old. Please stop it. Anyway, moving on swiftly. Today, in a Tier 8 random battle on the Sound River map, we have... well, you know I'm going to call him Dave, because, I mean, 97 Was? Is he a German? I don't know. So, to avoid any further confusion, let's just say Dave's back in the Tier 8 Premium T54 Mod 1. Normally this is the point in the video where I go into laborious detail about the pros and cons of the vehicle in question, but really all you need to know about the T54 Mod 1 is it's a T44 with improved armour. It's got better hull and turret armour, and it pays for that by having worse speed and mobility over the T44. Also at Tier 8, but not a premium. The thing is, well, the only downside to the T44 was its terrible armour, and the fact that it could be ammo-racked by just looking at it. And to a degree that's true of the T54 Mod 1 as well. It does have fairly fragile engine, fuel tank and ammo rack modules, but it's got increased armour, so... yeah. I mean, the T-44 only blows up in spectacular fashion when you penetrate it from the front with an armour-piercing shell and detonate its ammo rack. But the T-54 Mod 1 has improved armour in the hull and turret, so that's less likely to happen, isn't it? It's also got fairly good gun depression, 7 degrees. The gun handling is absolutely terrible, of course, and the penetration values of its standard armour-piercing ammo is pretty bad. I mean, 190mm of penetration at Tier 8 is definitely not good. But you can always press the 2 key and get 247mm of penetration if you're prepared to pay for the privilege. Just don't expect to be able to punch through the layers of spaced armour on the front of a Super Pershing even after liberally smacking the 2 key. Now that Super Pershing has got himself into an interesting situation, because the only real weak spot at the front of a Super Pershing is right on top of the turret. And right on top of the turret is the only part of the Super Pershing that Dave and his teammates can realistically hope to hit. The thing is, even with 7 degrees of gun depression, okay, you know, if he gives you the hull to shoot at, then by all means go ahead and do that. But even with 7 degrees of gun depression, if that Super Pershing was actually paying attention to Dave, he would be able to pump a shot right into his exposed lower glacis as he comes over the top of the ridge in order to try to make use of that 7 degrees of gun depression. But the Super Pershing has, well, he's had more than enough of that, and he's, yeah, thanks, I'm out of here. Now Dave's team have already lost 2 tanks, and they didn't actually kill that Super Pershing. He's managed to get out of there with the grand total of exactly 7 more health than he needs. It looks like he's trying to get himself down the cliff very, very, very carefully, because that's the only way he's getting out here alive. And Dave's team have just lost a 3rd tank, so this is all good. I don't think that Super Pershing is willing to take the risk of dropping off the edge of the cliff. But for the moment he is definitely stuck there. Now then, both teams kind of fighting themselves to a bit of a standstill over at this end of the map, but Dave is able to do some reliable and consistent damage to that Tier 7 Italian P-88 over there, who just doesn't seem to be able to take a hit. Oh, the Super Pershing, oh, that was close. I've got to admit, that was a very cheeky move from the Super Pershing, and I actually feel sorry for him that it didn't connect, because with Dave's 2 teammates on the right occupied with the IS-2 over there, and Dave himself occupied with the threat from the left, he picked the perfect moment to pop up and take a shot without putting himself at any real risk. Friendly Black Prince trying to sneak around on the flank and take the IS-2 over there from the rear, got spotted, hit by artillery, he does not, and he's dead. Super Pershing got him. Well done, Super Pershing. You know, for a tank that's been on 8 health, basically since the start of this match, he's proven to be a remarkably consistent thorn in everybody's sides over here. In fact, the Black Prince was his second kill. He nailed the EBR earlier. But it was an EBR. I don't think anybody on either team will be crying too much about that. There's the strong turret armour. Something that the T-44, upon which the T-54 Mod 1 was based, definitely does not have. The stock T-44 turret only has 120mm of armour. The upgraded T-44 turret has 190, but it's not just the thickness of the armour. The T-54 Mod 1 has 200, but it's better shaped. It's not as good as a T-54, obviously, but it's better than a T-44 of any variety. And there it is again, proving its worth. The team are pulling a couple of kills back, but they're losing tanks faster than they're killing them. Dave himself hasn't actually killed anything yet, although he has done 2,000 damage. And that turret has already proven its worth, defending him against, so far, 600 incoming damage. Don't worry, that number's going to go up before the end of this battle. And already has, there we go, 900. And this is gold ammo that people are firing at him, by the way. Still no kills. Although while the damage is really starting to rack up, he is definitely going to need to start killing things. That's a lot of enemy tanks right in front of them, and the IS-6B with them is not looking particularly healthy. I'm actually surprised the AMX there. Oh no, he is turning to shoot at the IS-6. And check this out, this is not something you see very often. I've seen it happen before, but not for a couple of years. Shielding his teammate, and he's only now starting to take damage. And he's taking the damage in order to keep a teammate in play. You do not see that in World of Tanks very often. In fact, the last time I can actually remember seeing it was watching a Jagdtiger do the same thing for a badly damaged King Tiger. And this was in a video that I featured before physics had been introduced to the game. That's how long ago it was since I last saw somebody deliberately putting themselves in harm's way in order to keep a teammate alive. So, well done, Dave. Now, can you possibly kill that AMX? Because it's about time you killed something. Could be the Super Pershing, who's backing away from the friendly Super Hellcat. Yep. Dave finally gets his name on the scoreboard. AMX M4, is he trying to bug out? No, he's going after the IS-6. Enemy Super Hellcat over there as well. The IS-6B is down. Well, Dave couldn't fight two of them at the same time. If he couldn't protect the IS-6B, he might at least be able to avenge him. Hang on a minute, is that an M12? Is that the enemy artillery? What's he doing up there? I guess he got sick and tired of the high explosive nerf as well. Okay, he's in the same situation now against the AMX M449 that he was with the Super Pershing earlier. I mean, he might theoretically be able to one-shot him. He could do that amount of damage with one shot, but he'd need a high damage roll. He's not going to be able to get any direct assistance from the Super Hellcat. It looks like he saw the artillery and his eyes glazed over and the red mist descended and he's off artillery hunting. But, well, at the same time it means with the Super Hellcat in that position, up in the northwest corner, nobody should be in a position to outflank Dave. And he should be safe from enemy artillery. The thing is, if he's going to be sitting here playing cat and mouse with the AMX all day, this battle is rapidly going to slip away from him because he only has 4 surviving teammates against 8 enemies, and those are not good odds. Friendly artillery is trying to help him out, but don't forget that M12 got away unscathed and is very likely to be huddled up and waiting to do exactly the same thing in return. He's trying to locate that AMX-45. There he is. Note, even with gold ammo, he's having to aim for weak spots. And the French tank's gun is not pointing this way. That can only mean we're about to lose a Super Hellcat. Now, the question is, does Jean-Pierre over there want to die to Dave, or is he going to take his chances with a cliffside? Hang on, Dave, where you go? Oh, that would be the enemy Super Hellcat. He's back. Unfortunately, for him, he's forgotten that Dave's team still has artillery. In fact, at this point, it's safe to say that, aside from Dave himself, that's all that Dave's team still has. Same cannot be said of the enemy team, however. And Dave has taken some hits now. His armour's good, but it's not that good. And note that his fuel tank has been damaged. Like I said, T-54 Mod 1 does have notoriously fragile ammo rack engine and fuel tank modules. And, oh, right, okay. Yeah, Dave is now the last tank surviving on his team. Against exactly 5 enemies. Both of the RT have died, which means that there are enemy tanks in the base, but none of them are trying to cap. At least not yet. Somebody was in the cap circle earlier, but that was just something that they had to drive through in order to slaughter the artillery. Somebody's in the cap circle now, whether or not they're actually trying to win by capping, or they're just driving through it in order to position themselves to defend against, well, there's only really one direction Dave is ever going to be coming from here. We've already established he has better armour than a T-44, but he does not have the speed. So he's going to make the most of whatever concealment is available, but he can't afford to be too cheeky about it because the clock is ticking. He has barely 20 seconds to get this cap reset off. Oh, it's the AMX. And he hasn't seen it. And he's just sitting there. He's seen him now. And he's still just kind of sitting there. But that's not a full reset. There's a second tank in the cap circle. The AMX has decided, yeah, I've had enough of this, but isn't returning fire, which is weird. Wasn't able to reload quickly enough to finish him off. Really? The Challenger was just sitting there. What? Well, there goes the AMX. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that just happened. Because reasons. Is there some kind of special on base capture points at the moment? Because I can't explain what I just saw. That was, yeah. There's the M12. 2 enemy tanks remaining. The problem here is one of them's a Rheinmetall Borsig, and if he's even halfway competent, he's going to be hidden in a bush somewhere. He is going to see Dave before Dave sees him, which means the enemy artillery will also see Dave and be free to shoot at him. And it doesn't matter whether or not the Borsig is using the 128 or 150mm gun. Both of them have more than enough penetration and more than enough damage to one-shot Dave's T-54 Mod 1. And that's before enemy artillery gets involved. So this is going to be tricky. Now I think what Dave's doing here, which is a sensible plan, is working his way around the map in the direction... Oh, 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 there's the artillery. Come on. It's going to take 2 shots though, even with high explosive. Okay. I thought that what Dave was doing here was working his way around the map in the direction of the enemy base in order to basically draw out the 2 surviving enemy tanks. Unfortunately, taking that shot at and failing to kill the enemy RT has kind of telegraphed his intentions, so they have to know that he's coming. And this would be the ideal time, if he's in a position to do it, and he is, for the Borsig to start capping, because Dave is about as far away from his own cap as it's possible to be, and he cannot really ignore the Su-14-2, because there's only 2 minutes of this game left. And even if he does hightail it back to his own base to defend against the Borsig, which is by no means guaranteed because the Borsig is going to be hiding and waiting for him and can one-shot kill him, he would then have to come all the way back in order to deal with the Su-14. And there isn't enough time to do that. So Dave really does need that Su-14 to make a cock-up of monumental proportions here and give Dave a shot at him as he's rushing back in an attempt to prevent the Borsig from winning by capping out. And the Su-14 has done exactly that. Yeah, terrible gun handling. Dave, you're going to have to stop and aim. And even then you might not hit him. But he does it. And here's something else that is not working in Dave's favour. With less than 40 seconds to go before the Borsig wins by capping out, look at the team health bars at the top of the screen next to the scores, a relatively new feature in World of Tanks. That Borsig, even though he has never seen Dave during the course of this battle, knows exactly how much health Dave has left, and knows that he can one-shot kill him, and also knows that he can afford to take a couple of hits in the process. Dave managed to get the reset off, and managed to avoid taking damage in return. He gets the second shot off. It's not enough to kill him. Both tanks are now one-shot kills for each other. The Borsig is going to get to reload before Dave can finish him. But now it's not a question of the capture timer, it's the match timer. There are only 26 seconds left. The Borsig will have reloaded by now, and there is not enough time for Dave to try to do anything particularly fancy. Instead, he's just trying to troll that Borsig into missing his shot. The Borsig saw him, he did not see, there he is, and they both bounce. But Dave is going to reload first, and with 1 second remaining on the clock, he gets the kill. His 6th kill of the match, that's a Top Gun, as well as the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against 5 enemy tanks, and somehow against the odds, still managing to come out on top. And of course the Kolobanov and the Top Gun are just the icing on the cake. He also got Ace Tanker, Pascucci's medal for nailing 2 of the enemy artillery, and thanks to the fire sale on base capture points, he also managed to earn himself the Defender medal, finishing comfortably on top of the team list there with not far short of 2,000 base experience. And can we have a shout out, by the way, to the Super Pershing on the enemy team, who basically played that entire game with 8 hit points and was the best scoring member of his team. Well done to him too. So well done, Dave, and that's it for today. I hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.